Today, bouldering is a global phenomenon, drawing climbers of all levels to gyms, crags, and competitions. And with athletes pushing boundaries of human potential, it's hard to believe that this sport, now featured in the Olympics, had such humble beginnings. But if you go back about 100 years, the sport of bouldering looks a lot different. The practice of climbing short but challenging routes without ropes emerged from the shadows of traditional mountaineering in the early 20th century, with alpinists such as Oscar Eckenstein at the forefront. It wasn't considered a sport in its own right at the time, but as more of a training method to prepare themselves for their bigger ascents. That was the case until around the 1920s, 1930s, when in the forests of Fontainebleau, France, just outside of Paris, climbers began to experiment with the sandstone boulders. Specifically, Pierre Alain, a pioneer in his own right, not only pushed the limits of what could be climbed, but also designed the first modern climbing shoes, a game changer for bouldering and climbing as a whole. Meanwhile, across the Atlantic Ocean, an American gymnast named John Gill transformed bouldering into a form of art and science. In the 1950s and 60s, Gill introduced the concept of climbing as an athletic pursuit. His influence brought a focus on dynamic movements and gymnastic techniques that was to continue to shape the sport today. And funny enough, he was one of the first climbers to ever use chalk. As the sport evolved, bouldering gained momentum through legendary figures like Ron Koch, Lynn Hill, and Jerry Moffatt, who pushed the grades and brought attention to bouldering as a discipline that stood on its own, not just as a training tool. With their passion and dedication, they laid the groundwork for the modern era of bouldering. Today, bouldering thrives in every corner of the world, from local gyms to world-class competitions. But it's important to remember the pioneers who saw the potential in the rocks, who turned simple training exercises into a sport that tests the limits of mind and body. The boulders may have remained the same, but the visions of those early pioneers transformed them into something greater, a global pursuit of mastery and adventure.